BDRM. Is that the 1 or the 2? I can never remember them. Well, there we go. So we have got a very rare beast. I've just been informed. So we'll bring them out all by this lonesome. Oh, we have got. Is that it? Is that the last ones?
Actually built it from early 1950s right the way through to early 1970s. It had the nickname the Kozlik, which means the goat in Russian, because it's the ability to go absolutely anywhere. This particular one served for only 2 years in the Polish 69th Parachute Regiment, and it's pretty much unrestored, original paintwork and all the rest of it, and this is how we got it out of storage.
Great stuff. Very nice example. Thank you very much. And it starts, unlike most of the American stuff that's been breaking down in the arena. Right. So let's have the truck. Let's have the Ural. Here we go. So the Ural truck. Now these had a very, very thirsty V8 petrol engine. Gas.
Lots of gas. There's a UAZ coming.
Let's have this gentleman here. Right. So UAZ, I believe. I must admit, my knowledge of my Russian vehicle is rather limited. I quite like this one because it's got a recoilless rifle on the front. So, UAZ, yes, got it right. Tell us about your vehicle, sir.
Well, it's obviously the UAZ 469 that replaced the GAZ 69 in the early 70s, and it's still in use today. The Chinese make a copy of it, as they copy everything. And it's actually B10, it's a replica B10 recoilless rifle, which is it's 82.
Very nice indeed. Well, there you go. It's a cannon on wheels, basically. Great stuff, thank you. Right, let's have the BDRM. There we go. So,
just watch that suspension work for its living.
Here we go. So, armoured vehicle, amphibious. Somebody's climbing out. Black is English? Yes? Russian. Russian, Germany. So, niet and no. So, BDRM 2. Yes? Here we go. Oh no, sorry, it's BRDM. Ooh, got it wrong. So, it is a 2. So yeah, amphibious armoured scout car, basically. 7,400 built, plus a few more. What does it say here?
It looks as though it's very hot inside.
Yes. Yes, very hot and very dusty. But yeah, so again, amphibious, can carry absolutely anywhere. Designed in the Cold War for that sort of thing. And this is NBC one, I believe, nuclear, biological and chemical warfare.
Now here's an interesting thing. It's got wheels inboard up underneath the hull to stop it grounding out.
Can we bring the wheels down? Yeah, but they come down? Yeah. Can we bring them down? Yes? It's Vorstrom Dirk. No units.
Yeah.
Yes, so they're not working. But there are 2 little wheels, or 1 little wheels. Yes.
There's 2.
2 little wheels. And they will actually.
And it's got a wading screen that works from inside.
These wheels will actually come down, so it doesn't get sort of bellied out on like a knife edge lump or anything like that. But I believe this on the back, I'm sure it's NBC for nuclear, so they go out and test for biological weapons.
Yeah.
Not a particularly nice job. And then they'll well, I hope it's making big noises. And then they'll mark out the safe area or the danger area for the troops to avoid or go through. Now when it goes past on the back, you'll see a big bell housing, and that's where the propeller is. So literally these things would just go in the water, switch on the propeller, and off they go.
Another interesting thing about this Russian kit, Cold War kit, is that you can pump the tyres up from the cab.
Yes.
It's got a device here that attaches from the hub, and you can pump the tyres up, so that if you need to tackle really heavy mud or snow or something like that, you can let the tyres down so you get traction. And then you can pump them back up to go on the road without getting out. So if you're under fire, you can let your tyres down, get through the obstruction, pump them back up again straight away and carry on.
And I've just been told it drove 1,000 kilometres from Germany to get here. Wow. How much petrol? Lots of petrol?
I don't even want to think
yeah. It's one, it is now empty. But wow, that's amazing. Look at that, 1,000 kilometres to get here. Brilliant, well done guys. Awesome. Really, really good.
Very much.
But you can also let the tyres down from there as well.
Yeah,
Inside the cab,
you can let the tyres down to get through an obstruction, more traction, and then pump them up again without getting out. Just keep going.
Yeah. Still very high profile for a scout car.
Yes.
Yeah, quite large and heavy.
Quite difficult to find a hold down position.
Which is most of the Russian kit. Right. I can't remember this one.
This is Trabant.
There you go.
It's an East German machine, and the bodywork is actually a monocoque, but it's made out of compressed paper, which is quite bizarre. And they're a two-stroke engine, quite small, about 600 cc's I think. And they did lots and lots of different versions of this, civilian ones and military ones, and they're quite collectible and scary. Yeah, I've heard that word before off another Trabi owner. You take care, sir. Thank you very much indeed. And another US.
Ah, yes, and also it's got wing mirrors, so it never rolls over. Yeah.
I've been told to look at the sticker on the back doors. There's a little naughty man pissing on the Land Rover badge.
Oh, really? How rude.
Filthy beast.
Go. Disgracing Land Rover, go.
Be gone. Cheerio, fella. Take care.
Right, so this is where I got confused last time. This is the Ural. So it's slightly bigger than the Zil. So similar sort of configuration, but you can just see how tall they are. Yeah, it's a US. It's a Ural. Oh, alright. So basically, this is the medium-sized truck, 6-wheel drive. Again, the same sort of configuration, uppy downy on the air pressures and the cab and all that sort of stuff. Now, I would imagine this is probably a radio body in the back, going by the antenna that's poking out the top, because communication in the theatre of war is absolute key. He who has the best communication doesn't necessarily have to have the best weapons, because if you can organise your people better than the other person, you're going to wipe them out straight away. So again, like I said, the medium size, the next one, the Kraz, which was just, the wheels on the Kraz are actually almost up to the wing here. It's a massive bit of kit. Brilliant. Great stuff. From 6 wheels to 2 wheels. Do you know what this one is, Alex?
I have no idea.
From the old DDR Border Patrol.
Okay, it's a German, East German border patrol bike. It's an MZ. These, in years gone by, similar bikes like this were actually on sale in this country. They came out of East Germany as a civilian bike. They're quite a nice little two-stroke and they run very well.
69 AM, Howard, tell us about your vehicle, sir.
This was in service with the East German Army. There are various details that mean that he was in service with the East German Army. It's the rare command car version.
Rare in the fact that it's got a hard back on it.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to ask the owner. I'm going to cheat. It's a GAZ 69M radio truck. Only one in the country from Polish Army. 1960, 1970, it's nearly impossible to date. Be nice to have one of those early ones in. This next one coming round if we can get him.
This one?
Yeah, there's some stuff to say about that. Now, I'm going to ask the owner a little bit about this if I can, but I recognise that front axle because this shares a lot of parts, I think, with the Model A Ford. And the front axle on this looks almost the same as a Marmon Harrington conversion on a Ford V8. Can you tell me about your vehicle? Can you tell me something?
This one's 1945, but they saw service from about 42 till the late 50s. Something like North Korea still use them now. There was a Ford factory in the Soviet Union before the war producing Model A trucks, Model A Fords. Of course, when they needed something, a Jeep, they copied the Bantam. And this actually predates the Willis G by about a month, something like that. And they all came from the Bantam, which came from the Aston.
So we've got a different development line from the Bantam. The Americans took the development line to the Willis G, the Russians took the development line to this. And it's got a cowl-mounted tank, the same as a Model A Ford, so it shares an awful lot of parts with 1920s, 1930s Ford vehicles. I've got a 1931 Ford Model A at home, and a lot of the parts look very similar to me. Thank you very much.
I think they made about 1 million of these, so yeah, there's plenty of spares going around. But yeah, it's going to be pretty robust, good off-road. About getting on 10 years now, so yeah, had a fair few number of breakdowns and roadside repairs and all sorts, but yeah, it's all part of the fun.
Brilliant, well there you go. Eastern Bloc. I think we've just about covered that. Oh, hello, we've got one with the bonnet open.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of recoveries to do. I think there's one broken down over the back as well.
Maybe it's too hot for them. They are used to like very cold weather in Russia.
We'll do like this. He came hurtling past me on the A14 last year on the way home from this show.
Brilliant. So, I think that's Cold War done. So we're going to let these guys play around for a little bit. You might have seen him this morning taking out a dinosaur, which he kept missing. So, yeah, we're actually after a teddy bear. Where is our great white hunter? Where is he? He's gone. Maybe he's gone for tiffin.
I think pretty much if there was anything I could take home from this show, it would be one of those. They're an air-cooled V8, they're gorgeous. And a Bedford QL. QLR no less. Now that's quite a rare beast. Alright, let's have a look at the GMCs. They did open and closed cab, there's a closed cab behind it.
And was used as a cargo carrier to carry the weaponry required to service the tanks.
Thank you very much. Very nice to see that. And they've got a very, very distinctive exhaust note. You can always tell a Jimmy when it's coming towards you. They sound completely different from anything else. Yeah, fairly standard Jimmy. They have what they call a stake side, and they have fold-down seats in the back for carrying troops. So I'll ask the lady if she knows anything about this truck. Different QLR bodies for different purposes. I don't know what this one is. It appears to be one cabin in the back. It's a command body. Okay, you can see the aerial. The aerial stacks up. This is a tall aerial that can be put out. That's how it's stowed. It's got little shades that come down over the windows.
This 1944, it went to Normandy in June 44 with British and Canadian artillery. Went all the way up, I think it ended up in Berlin.
And from another Bedford product. And this is an MW. Hello John. This is an Aeroscreen MW, which means it's a very early one. They weren't really designed with crew comfort in mind. No windscreen to speak of, no doors, much in the way of seating. You're nearly sitting on the floor really, aren't you? But again, used in different theatres of war. What I'd like to point out on this particular one is it's got some very early tyres on it.
Now, I'm a bit of a tyres anorak really, because modern tyres, you can't often get the right tyres for a wartime vehicle for them to look right. So if you see a vehicle that's actually got its original War Department marked tyres on it, 1939 those tyres were made. They're out of proper gun dipped India rubber. They will last forever if they are looked after. John, tell us a bit about it, will you?
Yeah, as you say, it's an early MW aero screen found in a garage not too many years ago by the great Toby Jones. You know, we all know Toby. This is his second year at War and Peace, and done a bit of restoration on it. The idea is we're not going to put it back to factory condition. You wouldn't have seen them in the field in factory condition, and I'm not going to replace anything that doesn't need replacing. If I take a bit of wood off this vehicle, that's a bit of its history gone. So everything we can keep original, we've kept original. We painted the outside just to weatherproof it. The interior still has its original paint. We don't think it ever saw civilian service. We think it was demobbed straight into the scrapyard and rescued from the scrapyard. Like most of this vehicle, it's a bitzer. They put them together from bits they had over the years as they got broken and repaired. But it's pretty original. A lot of original fittings, and as aero screens go, we're really proud of it. It gets used for enacting, and we like to think the old girl likes a bit of use, not to be left in the shed and polished.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. As I say, I saw this for the first time last year and fell completely in love with it. What a smashing truck. Thank you very much indeed. Alright, here we got the Steyr. 2 Steyrs. Now I really like these as well. I don't know a huge amount about them, but they're an air-cooled V8 and they sound lovely. And I know this man knows all about this vehicle, so the easy way is for me to hand the microphone to him and let him tell you all about it.
Afternoon, yeah, this is a Steyr 1500 PKW. It's made by Steyr. It's part of the standardised vehicle programme. It's a V8 3.5 litre engine, and as far as I'm aware, they made about 18,000 variants of this type of vehicle. This particular vehicle was found in Normandy near Caen. It was probably destroyed in about July 1944 after the D-Day. If you look at the bonnet, you can see the shrapnel damage to the vehicle. When I bought it, it had no back end. It had been set alight, and also it was heavily damaged during the fighting in Normandy.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. That was great. Now we've got one here, very similar machine. I think slightly different bodywork, but I'm maybe about to be told different. But I'd like to know a little bit about this one. Who's the man who knows about this one? Or the lady?
Okay, so the second Steyr is the same as the one before, except that there is no camouflage yet since we restored it recently. Little less to do. In fact, we just came back from France for the show.
Oh, the Scamel. The Scamels are coming, hurrah, hurrah. Now the Scamel is what we call a prime mover. Designed in the late 20s originally, and developed over the 30s, and right up into the 50s. And these were in service well after the war. It's what we call a heavy wrecker. So this will move just about anything. It's got a winch under the back of it, which has an enormous capacity. Usually a Gardner diesel, I think. It's a Gardner, yes. And it's a bit multicoloured, this one. It's sort of part RAF and part farm, I think. So there's got to be a story to that. So I'm going to ask the man about his truck.
Hello there, this is a 1945 Scamel Pioneer medium-wheeled recovery truck. The reason for the colour scheme is that we thought this was a REME vehicle. Most of these got delivered to REME. This was 1945. But we could never find its military history. We went through all the usual channels and a few non-usual channels. Then by chance, some 18 months ago, we found out that she was actually delivered to the RAF in May 1945. So I'm in the process of repainting it from the civilian scheme, because we didn't know its military history, into the post-war RAF high visibility colours.
Marvellous, and what a lovely thing it is too. These were used for recovering other heavy lorries. They were also used, I know, by the RAF for dragging aircraft away off airfields when they crashed. If you belly land a Lancaster, then you need something pretty hefty to move it. And I've seen photographs of heavy bombers being pulled off runways on their bellies by these things. That's a lot of weight. Thank you. Yeah, now these things have also got something else for you to watch as it's going round the arena. Watch the suspension. Now these fellas, I was talking to this chap in the bar last night while I was drinking my orange juice, and one of these trucks was built in France and one of them was built in Germany, and they're Ford V8s. And there was a Ford factory in Russia, there was a Ford factory in America, in England, in France, in Germany, and they made vehicles for anybody who'd pay them. So these are both German Army Fords, one of which was made in France, one of which was made in Germany, but there are some interesting differences between the two. Now, is this the French one? This is the German one. He's got the French one. Which one has the wider cab? The French one has the wider cab. And we couldn't figure out why, and it occurred to me perhaps that maybe the French were trying to waste materials, so they made fewer of them for a given amount of metal and wood. Well, either that or they thought the Germans were fat, yes. That's possible too. And what stands for War Office Truck, by the way, that were left behind at Dunkirk, and the British troops put the engines out of action by running them with no oil in, were all re-engined by the Wehrmacht with the engines for these trucks, which were made in Cologne, and then sent east on Operation Barbarossa. So if you look at pictures of German troops in Russia, they're very often driving British Fords and British Bedfords, which would have been re-engined with Cologne-built Ford engines and Opel Blitz engines. So there's a thing, they've got Siamese centre ports, and they don't sound like any other V8 in the world. Now there's a little part of me that's a hot rodder, and there was a fella called Zora Duntov who worked for General Motors in the 50s, and he designed a thing called the small block Chevy. And what he didn't tell General Motors when he was designing the small block Chevy was that he was designing an overhead valve 250 horsepower V8 that would bolt straight into his Ford V8 car and treble the horsepower without actually cutting anything, because it bolts straight in. Thank you. Okay, so the next event we've got is at 15:15, 3:15, and it's called War in the Desert, from Alamein to Tunis in World War II.
Hello. So the name of it was this video. It's not the easiest thing in the world to change gear. Right, what else have we got? Oh, we've got some weird stuff.
track going when it's in contact with the ground? Any ideas? I'll walk over here. Hang on a moment. Actually, I'll run. It's a rare thing, but I do run every now and then. So,
you
what we
call
got?
that running? I call that mincing.
The CVRTs.
Wonderful. So, in front of you we have two British Army vehicles, and they fall into the group which is classed as a CVRT, which stands for Combat Vehicle Reconnaissance Tracked. They were primarily recce vehicles. They are both of the same family, and British Army loves grouping things together in names, so they both begin with S. All the CVRTs begin with S. And we have two models here. The first one being a scimitar, the second one being a sabre. Now you look at them and they're not always very easy to tell the difference between the two of them, because all CVRTs are based on the same sort of chassis and have the same running gear in them. Now ways to tell the difference between them I can speak English honestly, just not on a Friday. The scimitar, if you look at the turret, it is actually lower down to the body than the sabre, and if you look at the turret here, it is hexagonal. No, this is just a standard sabre. I was just checking that it wasn't a slight variation, which we can get on them. Is this the Cummins diesel version or the no, this is the petrol variation, so it's got a Jaguar J60 engine in it, which is exactly the same as a normal Jaguar car, although in my opinion this is far nicer than a Jaguar. Identical to these, but if you see these, the muzzle, the end of the muzzle of the barrel comes in front of the actual body of the vehicle, whereas the Scorpion has a much shorter barrel on its main armament because it has a different calibre main weapon on it. Another way to tell the difference between these, you see on the second vehicle as it's going round, that big box to the right hand side of the main armament is its night vision. And if you look at the other first vehicle, it has the same box, but it is a different shape and it opens differently. So there are different little idiosyncrasies between the vehicles that enable you to tell. But the main one being that on the second one, if you look at the turret, there is a bigger gap between the two because the turret wasn't actually built for that vehicle. So they had to manufacture a specific collar to marry the two together.
Okay, thanks Michelle. We go back to World War II now from the fairly modern. This is a Marder 3, Marder 3M, which is a self-propelled gun on a 38T chassis. Now I'm going to ask the owner, John, a little bit about it because he knows far more about this than I do, I'm afraid. He's shaking his head and laughing his head off, but he is going to tell us, I'm sure he will. So he must be so proud of it.
Yes, thank you. It's built in 1943. It's a bit slow at the moment. We're waiting for a few mechanical parts to arrive from the States, but apart from that, there she is. It's a good vehicle and a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, John. What a magic thing. Thank you very, very much.
Excellent. So, moving on to something slightly more modern. So, this, it's just gone out of my head. It's not Salamander.
Saladin.
I forgot what it's called.
Saracens.
No, it's not Saracen. I'll get it in a minute.
Saladin.
Saladin, that's it. So, Saladin, 6-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer. It's got a 75mm gun in the front. Mainly used for support. So it's quite a stable gun platform as well. But they actually had the variant of this, which is called the Saracen, which was a tube carrier. So it was exactly the same base, but slightly built up, more different to carry troops. Now these guys would sort of mill around, wait for orders, and basically just fire support onto an enemy as the infantry came in to keep their heads down, so the soldiers couldn't shoot back at their friendly forces moving forward. It's got a B80 8-cylinder Rolls-Royce engine, which does drink quite a lot of petrol, so it does empty your wallet quite quick. But the big difference between these and something that's tracked in an urban environment to get around a decent track, because they do so much damage to the ground, they thought, let's put something on wheels. So they took a common chassis, chopped the top off, put a turret inside it, on top of it, and then fit the centre for our gun. This is the same gun that's in the Scorpion tank, which was in here earlier, but there you go. So it's a 3-man crew. You have the driver, you have the gunner, and you have the commander. And it's quite a tight fit in there, it really, really is. There's not a lot of space. But yeah, I do like these. I wish I could own one, but it's a little bit out of my price tag. Now, the Alvis group on their books, I think the guy said there's only about 19 on their books. It's like I said, there's not actually many left. So there you go, very nice example.
Now we're going to bring the changes back to World War II again. Self-propelled anti-tank gun, made in 1945. And running quite well by the sounds of it. So when he comes up a bit closer, I'm going to ask the fellow on top to tell us a little bit about it. So, they're all laughing their heads off and shaking their head. You've got to tell us. Sorry? Says he can't hear me. Okay, my knowledge of these is a little limited, so...
Have a look in here, you can see people.
Yeah!
There's people inside.
There's no breech block in there, you can see right in there people pulling faces at you.
but very effective tank killer.
Okay, yeah, they're very effective. Very rare piece of kit, Jag Panther Hetzer. Alright, thank you very much.
Probably worth, I'll say, over $1 million. So, we're going to bring one of the big boys out now. So we're going to get him in the middle of the arena, if he's going to pay attention. So, this is a Centurion. So just going through the history from the Second World War. So we had the Churchill, the Cromwell, then we had the Conqueror, then we had the Centurion, then we had the Chieftain, this little small tanks. So they had the Scorpion, Samson, Samaritan, Sabre, Scimitar, so on and so on. So they all started with the same letter. That's good old British Army thinking, that is. How to make things really, really complicated. But I do love this Hetzer.
They just make things really complicated, but so you absolutely have to know them off by heart, because there's no good guessing it.
Yeah, exactly. Good, so when you bring on the Centurion. Now this is slightly different to a main gun tank or a main battle tank, MBT. This is the engineer's variant. Because you look at most tanks, and they've got a really, really long gun. But this one's got a really short gun, and it fires a very, very high explosive shell, and it's designed for taking out bunkers, hardened emplacements, anything that the infantry just can't get into. They call these guys up, they fire this massive round full of high explosives to take out the enemy or an entrance into a bunker complex. Now it's run by basically an aircraft engine, the Merlin engine, which is very, very juicy. Let them go. I wasn't quite around by the exhaust. Now, good old British Army thinking, it's a little bit of a quirky for you. Now they have an auxiliary engine, let's take the fuel tanks out, maybe just to change one spark plug. So I bet you've already removed yours, haven't you? Yeah, there you go. So no donkey engine, one fuel tank, so you can actually get to the spark plugs. Because it was an aircraft engine, it wasn't really designed for a tank, so alright, yeah, but no, he says we're not going to war, but I'm sure that's a real pain in the arse sorry, excuse my French, a real pain in the backside. That's a pound for the sweat.
I'm the one who's got the tattoo that says "Don't swear" on the inside of my eyelids.
165mm of high explosives.
In?
Oh, 500 metres range. It's not a lot, but it's a really big heavy shell that makes, it makes an enormous bang. It really, really does.
The interesting thing about that donkey engine is it's actually an Austin 8 horsepower power engine.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. You can take the engine out of one of these and put it in an Austin 8 horsepower and it will work.
Yeah. And the other good thing about these Centurions is it's the only British tank that's fought against the British on the gun tank side. So, very curious because they were sold abroad when they weren't used anymore. I can't remember the name of the conflict, but no, I knew they did fight against the British at some point, but I love these things, they're brilliant. There we go. Well, you'll hear this engine roar into life. 432. You might not understand the way the exhaust.
Yeah, get away from that.
Smell the exhaust burning.
Now that's an unsupercharged Merlin called a Meteor, and I'd really like to put one of those in a motor car because they're about 850 horsepower, and I think that would be enormous fun.
So a very, very nice 434. All the 43 series run on a J60 multi-fuel engine nearby to a nice whiskey distillery. You can also put that in as well, although you may get a few funny looks from people. But if it will burn and combust, it will run on it. Possibly not as well as it would on either the petrol or the diesel. All the 43s are actually based on the same running gear, the same body design, but just have their individual variations. They are absolutely fantastic to drive, and they are quite often one of the first tracked vehicles that people get if they're converting to tracked armour, because they are very easy to drive. They have a pre-select gearbox, which is actually the same gearbox that used to be in the old buses. So much as I hate automatics, I absolutely love driving these. They are so nice and easy to drive. So thank you very, very much to our 4-3 drivers. And if you walk around the show and you do see them, go and ask to look in the vehicles, look round the vehicles, because quite often it's not just the outside that is pristine and as it should be. That have done the inside of the vehicles with as much original kit, etc. that they can find. And a lot of the guys know the history, the service history of the vehicles, and they will run through, tell you where they've been. We'll be round to his camp later to have a look round his vehicle. Have we got anything else lurking up the back? So that means that now in front of you, to the right, it is the turn of the T34. And I think hopefully he might have a little something special for you, because he does like playing.
So it was an upgun version from the very first of the T34s that came out and rolled out the production lines back in the Second World War. When Germany was starting to attack Russia, even though Russia had signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, the Germans still thought, oh, we'll have Russia, we like it, so we're going to invade it. Unfortunately, when they came up against the T-34s, they went for a bit of a shock, because they made them in such numbers that they just completely overwhelmed the German positions of the German armour. And the only real thing that could take them out was the Tiger and the 88 gun. Now the reason for that is they had sloped armour. Now I'm not sure whether that was by design or whether it was by,
or accident or something like that. But if you imagine a big 2-inch thick steel sheet standing upright, you've got 2 inches of armour. If you lay it over at 45 degrees at an angle, then they jump in them, drive out the big doors and go off to war. Which is probably a good thing, because they were very simple to maintain and very simple to drive. But not so simple to get in them. Because let's face it, the Russians threw absolutely everybody at the Germans during the Second World War, from quite young age all the way up to quite old. Now, this particular one, it's not too far from here, but it does pack a bit of a surprise, which hopefully he's going to show you when he comes round. Now, yesterday, it was a very, very hot day, and he came round the front, and a big chunk of rubber came off of one of the wheels on one side, which is never a good thing with a tank.
It's generally a very expensive thing with a tank, especially one of that age.
Yes, absolutely. So the hatch in the middle, down below, that's where the driver sits. So he is slightly off to one side, and then he'd have what they call the assistant driver, or the bow gunner, would actually be sitting next to him, using the machine gun. And that bit in the middle, the round bit on the opposite side of the hatch, moves left and right and up and down, and then they can see. So what he's going to do now is going to come into the middle of the arena, he's going to traverse his turret. Right, stand by. Wow. That's, he's definitely packed that shed out. I think he's got another one. I might put my fingers in my ears for this one.
Not bad for a crow scarer, is it? Quite good in your back garden.
Yeah, I've got, well, when the smoke was I think the bang.
Wow. Did you all feel the shockwave? Yeah. Oh, hello. Is he going to fire another one, or is he...
Come on.
No, that's it. So, gun front. There we go, give a big round of applause. You probably can't hear you, but boy, it's that big bang. It really, really is. So there you go, Second World War tank still firing. Absolutely awesome.
Let's get him to poke his head out the front and give you a wave. He really, really wants to. He does. There you are.
The T-34-85. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. So that concludes our arena events for today.
Can anybody hear me? Was that a wave? Did somebody wave? Yes, you can hear me. Marvellous. So the hold-up was there's a really, really big hole somewhere over there where I can't see it, and they were frightened that the brain gun carrier might fall down it. But I think it's still moving, so when it comes round, we'll see what's fallen off. We're here again. I polished up the tattoo on the inside of my eyelids. It says don't swear. I'll do my best. First vehicle round, Mark 1 Universal Carrier. It's a Canadian carrier. On the side of it, which has the workings of an SMLE, which was a First World pattern British infantry rifle. And the antenna's not for show, it does in fact have a 19 set in it.
And what's the 19 set?
19 set is a double radio, it's got two radios. I'm not a wireless tech, so I'm not going to try and pretend that I know all about them, but I do know one thing. Part of the 19 set now is on the same frequency as a modern emergency beacon, early taxi over your head, and people get cross.
Right, so coming around the front again, the two desert colour ones, these are called ferrets. So they're a two-man scout vehicle, basically have a scout around, see if they can find the enemy. So the very first one, sort of going down the far side, is a Mark 1 because it's got no turret. But it was very exposed, and the commanders used to get a lot of bullets coming towards them, so they decided to put a turret on the top, called the Mark 2. They got a straight 6 Rolls-Royce engine, which is petrol. It will empty your wallet very, very quickly, but they're a lot of fun to drive. Now there's various different types, good old armies all over the world, they'll take common chassis and just bolt loads of bits and bobs to it, just to see whether it works or not. And the troops used to do it as well. There you go. I'm going to hand you over to Alex for that one.
Okay, this is a Valentine tank, quite an early machine, but what makes this one interesting is it's a DD tank. So that stood for duplex drive. And if you look under the back of it, it's got a propeller like a boat. And the canvas all the way around the outside lifts up like a screen to above the height of the turret, which allows it to float. Now I don't know what a Valentine weighs, I'm guessing 25 tons or something like that, maybe not quite that much. But it will actually float like a boat. Quite lightly armoured, quite slow, not really a match for most of the German armour.
Would you like a little buzzbeat for your microphone?
Say again, no?
Would you like a little buzzbeat for your microphone?
Bit of a buzzbeat.
We'll try, see if it fits. Right, so while he's having his buzzbeat fitted, again, so the ferrets. So, like I said, two-man crew, they had a nickname. They were called the two-man coffin. Because basically the commander that sits just behind the driver straddles the fuel tank. The fuel tank's right behind him. So if a round did penetrate, you can imagine the mess it was going to make. So the green vehicle with the 6 wheels is a Saracen. Now this is an armoured person. No, sorry, it's not a Saracen, it's a Saladin. I was wrong. So this has got a 75mm gun on it. There's not many of these around anymore. A lot of them were scrapped. But a few years ago, probably about 20, 25 years ago, they were very popular with the film industry. And they got around all over the world in many, many films. Petrol engine. And basically these were used for sport. So they would hang back a little bit, so as the main body of troops went forward, they would use their 76mm gun to lay some cover fire down where we could smoke, HE, try and take out some machine gun positions or anything like that. But quite weird to drive, but I'll come back to that when it comes up on the front again. At the moment, it's a CVRT, I think. I was going to say it was Simpson, I just can't remember. Bouncy. Really a lot of fun, they really, really are, as you can see. Now, again, this has got the 4.2 Jaguar engine, which is basically the one out of the car, which they just armified it, armoured it a little bit. But they're very, very fast, very, very manoeuvrable. The 3-man crew, you had the driver, the commander and the gunner. Now they got a 30mm Raden cannon in the front, and again these were scout vehicles. So the CVRT stands for Combat Vehicle Reconnaissance Tract. And that's exactly what they did. So these guys again would scout ahead, they could lay down some cover fire. And believe me, a 30mm round's really going to ruin your day. So, getting back to the ferrets and the Saladin. Now the driving position on these is quite weird, and the gearbox is very, very weird. So they've got a pre-select gearbox. So if you imagine driving your car, you put your foot on the clutch, you change gear, you bring your foot off the clutch, and off you go a little bit quicker. Now with these ones, you select the gear first, then you put your foot down on the clutch and back up again, and it engages the gear. Now on the 2 little ferrets, the desert ones, if you got that wrong, there's a very large spring inside the gearbox. And you can get something called a forced neutral, which basically will throw the clutch pedal back up so quickly and so hard, there's nothing you can do about it. And there's a big nut on the steering wheel, and it just jams your kneecap right into that nut. So if you ever see a ferret driver get out of his ferret and limp away, you know he's messed up the gear change big time. Yes, I know, I've done it, and it really, really does hurt. So going back to the CVRT that's come around the front, these can go just as fast backwards as they can forwards. They can also do quite a good neutral turn.
Oh, he says he doesn't know how to. Hang on, I'll tell him.
About half red, pull back on one of the tillers. Yeah, so make sure you're a metre away. Yeah? Pull back a little bit more red.
There we go. Ooh. Try the other way. Try the other tiller. Ah, there you go. You can see one track going forwards, one track going backwards. As he chokes on the dust. He says he feels sick now. That's his first neutral turn, but there you go. Brilliant, off you go. So, if they do get into trouble, they can turn around pretty quickly and go back in the other way. Now the commander at the same time, if they start getting fire and they need to withdraw rather than retreat, basically the gun will stay backwards to lay fire down while the driver just goes forwards. But they've also got capable reverse gear per se. They have a forward reverse lever. So the driver can select the reverse lever and he can change gear as he's going backwards. A lot of fun. You could drive these on the road, you can take them up the pub, you can take them shopping. You can lock your expensive high heels in there when you bought them. Nobody's going to get into it because it's armoured. It's all good. But everything's in the arena today. You can buy and drive on the road. But there we go. Where have they all gone? I can't see them. They've gone. They've disappeared. Maybe they've fallen into the big hole we found.
Yeah.
It's a very slippery slope that you can buy and drive on the road.
We want to see it airborne, really, don't we? All the tracks off the ground. Bouncy bounce. There we go. Very nice. So, the CVRTs. You can buy these for a really good one, maybe 20,000. Do yourself your H-track license and off you go. You're never going to get a clamp anymore again. So you might think with the tank it's got two levers to steer it, but with the little carrier coming around the front, it's got a little steering wheel, which makes them horrendously.
Yeah, it's interesting that you turn it a little bit and it slows the tracks to one side, so it actually bends the tracks to make it go around the corner. And then if you turn it a bit more, it applies the brakes on that side, so you turn southerly, but you can't turn it.
You can if it's wet. If it's wet and muddy, yeah.
I've seen somebody take the tracks off the carrier, trying to turn it to the side in the wet.
Yeah, that's when you walk away. Yeah, you're putting that back on.
Run away quickly, I'm going to the pub.
It always happens when there's a crowd watching, every time.
He's having fun, you can see he's got the biggest grin on the planet.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Well, there we go, yes, as I was saying. So our next event, which is going to be at 11:15, is called Military Oddity. Because you've got the tanks, you've got the Land Rovers, all the guns, coffee actually, latte. Do you reckon they'll buy us the latte, Alex? Yep, so next event, 11:15. And we'll be back on there.